Well, hello everyone. In this video, I want to give you guys 5 tips and tricks for the NX Sketcher. In this particular version, it is 2406, but I think you will find that most of these tips and tricks are applicable to versions that incorporate this new Sketcher. So if you are coming from an older version of NX, you know that the new Sketcher is pretty weird, and to some extent, some people don't like it. But I'm hoping that by showing you some of these tips and tricks, you will find that it actually is pretty nice. So the first thing that I want to show you, and I think this is still for the old Sketcher as well, is the idea of reference curves. Now, reference curves are the idea that you use those reference curves for construction geometry. Those of you that are coming from SolidWorks or Creo, I think that's what you know it as. They're called construction curves. So for example, I'm going to make a sketch here, and I'm going to hit the right plane here. And another tip that I have for you that's kind of a sub-tip to this is you can actually use the work part origin for pretty much everything. That way you don't accidentally reference something that's pretty weird. For example, a fillet or a chamfer. Anyway, you're going to see that most of my stuff use work part origin just because that's the way that I like to model. And I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. Now, when you make a sketch, I'm just using the profile tool here, I'm going to go ahead and just make something like this. And I'm going to add a fillet to this. Now, I know generally you don't want to add fillets to sketches, but, let's say this is going to be a tube path or something. And as you can see, I have this guy here. I'll quickly assign some dimensions to this. Let's say that this is going to be 5 inches, and maybe this guy here is going to be 10 inches, and let's say that this fillet here is going to be 3. By the way, if you hold the control key and hit the up arrow, it will make the text bigger or smaller depending on what you are pressing. Of course, if you want this to actually work, though, you have to go to Task and then go over to Sketch Settings, and you want to make sure that Fixed Text Height on Screen is turned off. As long as it's off, you will be able to perform that trick. And I actually suggest you have it off because when you're working with different resolution monitors, this can be very helpful. So let's say that this is what I have, but I want to convert this over to a reference line. Now to do that, and I just kind of flew through it, you can see all you have to do is click it. Then you can either click this first little button there, or you can right click on it and hit convert to reference. And now you are good to go. I can go ahead and hit finish like so, and you will notice that at least on my screen, it still displays the reference curve. And the reason for that is because I have that setting turned on. So if you want to display this reference curve, all you have to do is right click on the sketch from your tree, then go over into settings, and then you're going to go ahead and make sure that display reference curve is turned on. Once you have that on, you will see it over here. As you can see on my screen, if you turn it off, then of course it gets rid of it completely. In my case, though, I want to have it on because let's say that now I want to do a spline here that connects this together with, say, G2 curvature. And so that is my next tip for you. Tip number 2 is working with splines and curvature. So if I hit the sketch command here, I can go ahead and select the right plane again. And again, I'm using the work part origin there. And what that means is, as I said before, it's going to go ahead and just use the origin for everything in terms of origin, the starting point, so on and so forth. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And I'm just going to project both of these lines here. So I'm going to go over into Include. I'll hit Project Curve. And I'm going to project both of these like so. And that's good enough for me. So that looks very nice. So now let's go ahead and connect both of these with a spline. So I'm going to go ahead and do the spline tool here. So go ahead and select it. And once you're here, when I introduce the spline tool, most people get a little overwhelmed, particularly because, and admittedly, the spline tool is pretty advanced. You kind of have to know splines and the geometry of a spline, the algebra behind a spline. But if all you're really doing is just connecting two things together, you can usually achieve that pretty quickly. So for example, if I click this point here, you can see that I'm clicking the start point right there. But if I, for some reason, go over here to the right-hand side, you can see that it's kind of highlighting in yellow still, but it's not the right start point. You have to be careful of what start point you pick. And the reason I say that is because I see a lot of people, when we have something like this, they're not careful with what start point they're picking. Are they picking the start point of that red line, or are they picking the start point of that purple line, and it's actually very important because that line that it's highlighting in yellow is how it determines the direction of tangency. So in this case, I'll just go ahead and undo that, and I'm going to connect both of these together. So click. And a lot of people also seem to skip this step, but let's say that we do that. Let's say you can assign curvature here, G1 or G2, but I'm just going to skip that. Let's say I'm new to NX and I forgot, and I'm going to say click over here. Now, not all hope is lost. All you have to do is simply right-click on the point and then say infer G2, and then do the same thing over here, infer G2, and now you have a curvature continuous spline, and I can go ahead and, if I want to, add another point right here in the middle and use this to kind of help me get it close to the shape of a G1 blend. And really, you can start to see the differences between a G1 and G2 here. But needless to say, the whole point of this was to use that construction line to help us achieve a shape that is very similar, but it is G2 curvature continuous. I can go ahead and hit OK, and that looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and say finish. Now, by nature, splines are pretty difficult to constrain, and I think you see that when you work with any type of spline. So tip number 3 is you can actually use a command called fix curve. For example, if I go back and double click on the sketch here, it allows me to edit it. Now, I'm not going to sit here and, dimension every single spline point. I mean, this is only 2 points, or 3, I'm sorry, so it's not that hard. But if you had a spline point that has, say, 20, 30, or even 50 points, this is very prevalent in aerospace, then it's going to be a pain in the butt. But what you can do is execute the fix curve command right there, which is located right next to the show movable. And all you have to do is simply click this red line here, or I'm sorry, I keep calling it a line, this red spline, click, and then hit OK. And now you can see that it says the sketch is fully defined down here, and then this has its own special color. And so we're good to go. We're going to go ahead and hit finish. So tip number 4 is actually going to be constraining things very quickly. When I teach my classes, I usually see people clicking on the constraint first and then selecting things to constrain. And while that's okay, it is a little slower. So let me show you a very quick way. As you can see, I'm just entering a sketch right here, and I'm going to pick the right plane again just because I like that one so much. And I'm just going to go ahead and, draw the following shape, something that looks like this. And I'm just going to draw 2 lines, one that looks like that and another one that looks like that. So completely disconnected, right? This thing looks very weird, but I want to start constraining this thing. And so to constrain it, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and select the item that you are interested in. Now, in this case, I'm interested actually in the center of this circle, but I can't click it. I can only click it if I leave my mouse there for a couple seconds, but again, that's kind of slow. So if you click the circle and then click that center, you can now click what you want to make it coincident with, which is the constraint we're going to execute. In this case, that's going to be the horizontal. Now you can see that as soon as I do that, only one constraint becomes available, and that's the make coincidence constraint. Now let's say that you've selected them backwards, because believe it or not, there is an order to this. That's okay. NX will tell you that you did it backwards, and are you okay with NX switching it? You can go ahead and hit OK on that message. I obviously didn't get it because I turned it off permanently, because quite frankly, I never had an issue where NX messes up. So with that being said, all we have to do now is continue constraining things. So I'm going to go ahead and select this guy here. Let's say I want to make that tangent to this big circle. Click both of those and then hit make tangent. Select the line again, click the line or the little circle, make tangent. So see how easy this is? In my opinion, this is way better than having to come up here, select motion curve, which is this guy, select stationary curve, select that guy, and I hit OK. I find that that method is just a little bit slower. So let me go ahead now and execute the quick trim here, and I can get rid of all this stuff. Now finally, tip number 5 is the idea of persistent versus non-persistent relations. Persistent relations are what most of you know as constraints. How do you constrain something in, say, SolidWorks or Creo? Well, you use sketching constraints. NX, as you can see, has something very similar, except it calls them relations. Now, you might have noticed that I call them constraints because, like I said, I'm a Creo user and I've been using NX for a long time as well. So I also make the mistake of calling them constraints, but they're actually called relations. And there are 2 types of relations, persistent and non-persistent relations. Persistent relations is what all of you know as constraints. You did something in this sketcher like I did earlier, right? I made this center coincident with the horizontal. I assigned it a constraint. You would think that that would be a persistent constraint. But it's not, unfortunately. It is non-persistent. And the idea of non-persistent, so first of all, non-persistent means that it is a constraint that is enforced until you introduce something that will break it. For example, let's say that I make both of these equal to each other. So I'm going to select both circles and I'm going to hit equal. Now, if I come over here and select any one of the circles, doesn't matter which one. Let's say I select the one on the right-hand side. I'm going to make that 5 inches. Would you agree with me that both of these are the same? Well, I think you would, because if you click this guy, you can see that it's also 5 inches. I can set it to 3 inches. I can set it to 2, 1, 10. It doesn't matter. A non-persistent relation enforces that no matter what, unless I tell it that the circle on the left-hand side in this case is going to be a different dimension. So for example, if I click the circle, yeah, it's 10, but let's say I want it at 7. You could see that it is telling you, hey, I am breaking these relations here. First of all, this is no longer horizontal. I'm getting rid of that. And now I am not equal to the original circle. That is what non-persistent allows you to do. And in certain cases, it is very nice. It's very flexible. It allows you to make very quick changes. But sometimes you don't want that. Most folks who come from other CAD packages, they prefer to use them like constraints. So how do you actually enforce constraints like you do in other CAD packages? Well, before you actually start constraining, you have to go over here into options and you have to turn on create persistent relations. Once persistent relations is active, I also suggest you turn on display persistent relations. Now, you're probably asking yourself, Jose, how do I know whether something is turned on or off? How do I know that persistent relation is turned on? And quite frankly, there's not really a good way to tell, but other than one way, and this is the way that I've always done it, if you look at this ribbon section, or whatever this section is called, this whole tab up here, you can see that it's a little bit bigger than when we first started. If I turn it off, well, then that's how you know that persistent relation is turned off. This is persistent relation turned off, and then this is persistent relation turned on. See, it's much bigger. And now that you turned on display persistent relation, you will be able to see all of the relations that you assigned. As you can see, I entered equal here. And if I try to override it, like with a non-persistent relation, you will see that it'll give me an error. Watch. If I enter 5, it says you cannot do that. This is a persistent relation. So hopefully with these couple of tiny tips here and there, you will be able to navigate the sketcher a little bit easier. If you have any questions, please let me know. Take care. Bye-bye.